welcome. I'm Abigail Okia, editor at Edge Industry Review, and today joining me is Jeremy Pease, CEO of Colohouse. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me and being here in Hawaii. How's everything going?
Everything's wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
Good, thank you. My first question for you is, I guess let's talk a bit about Colohouse and the journey that the company has made from bare metals to now what we're doing, what we're doing together, putting everything back to one.
Absolutely. No. Colohouse has been around for a little over a decade now, and over the last 3 years, we've pulled 6 companies together, acquired another companies with our private equity firm, Volterra Partners. And we really are pulling together bare metal, cloud, and retail co-location companies to build what we see as a middle market player in the bare metal, retail co-location, and cloud services space.
And how important is it that the service is rolled up into one, like all the different services put into one? How important is it, and how easy does it make it for the customer?
Yeah, absolutely. Really what we're trying to do is make sure that we are creating automation when the customer needs it, so that they have an automated platform where their developers can go in, create all of the different development platforms, create all of the different technologies that they need, but also have the service that they need on the back end from our technology team to support them throughout their journey. So it really is a balance between the two that we feel like really doesn't exist very well in the industry. And so we're really trying to create both sides of that journey for the customer, so that they have all the technology that they need, but also the support that they need along the way.
And I kind of want to know your definition of the edge computing, just before we get into how Colohouse's services intersect with edge computing.
Absolutely. The edge is really something that I think we're all trying to define at some point in time. For us, it really is, how do we meet our customers' needs of their end customers at the end of the day? Really, we think about, we have gaming customers, we have streaming customers that are trying to get to somebody in their home or at a location, and how do we make sure that they can support that customer and get into their home to support that game that customer is trying to play at the end of the day. And so how do we make sure that that service gets to that customer, that end customer at the end of the day? And so for us it is, how does our data center location, how does that technology that we provide at that location get to that end customer through the networking, the technology, the components that we provide for that customer? How do we make sure it is getting there with the latency and the service and the components necessary? So that really is edge for us, and we do that through making sure that we have facilities in locations that get the customers to all of the different edge points throughout the country and throughout the world, that get them where they need to be at the end of the day.
And what do you think the future is of edge computing, especially in relation to cloud and your bare metal service?
Yeah, I think the future really is a matter of making sure that we have a flex of latency across all the different geographies and locations. It is about creating compute where the customers need it at the end of the day. It's going to be how much compute do they need in each geography and location, and can you meet that demand? I mean, really, as you talk to customers at the end of the day, they call us up and they go, you have this amount of compute because I need it right now, and I need it in this geography, and I need it in this location. It's not about it's a geography in terms of within usually about 100 miles, right? I need it within this 100 to 200 miles. Can you get me this amount of compute in this time frame? And so that's really what it is. That's the edge. Is usually a 100 to 200 mile radius. And so that really is the future. Is, can you get the type of compute that they need in a certain amount of time, and can you deliver it to them in an automated way that allows them to get to their customers in that time frame that they need to deliver the service that they need?
And knowing what you know now, as a CEO, is there anything that you would have done differently in terms of Colohouse?
Well, I mean, seeing as though I've only been in the seat for 16 months, I'm not sure that I could have done anything a whole lot differently than I've done now. But I think, in all honesty, I think I would have loved to be able to start the journey a little earlier. But I also think at the end of the day, just thinking back on my journey throughout the time here, I would have loved to be able to, to get in a little earlier on the bare metal services, the technology, the automation around that, because I think there's so much that can be done really with these bare metal platforms and the components that really deliver the service to these customers at the end of the day, because I think the public cloud has done so much for technology, but it's so expensive, and it really locks these customers into a technology that really creates a lot of confusion and complication for the customers, and I really feel like the bare metal service has created a new opportunity and simplification for the customer base, and I just really feel like I wish we would have got to this place a little earlier in the journey, and so I think that's the only thing I would have changed and I would have done differently, because I think it creates it's going to be a really interesting journey to see where this goes over the next 5 to 10 years, because I think it can be a differentiation point in the industry for sure.
And then PTC, what are some of the conversations that you've been hearing, some of the trends? Where is the conversation moving to? Where's the industry moving to, based on just what you've heard over this week?
Yeah, I think it really is about how are we going to deal with the power consumption change that is coming not only with AI, but with GPU compute and all of the different components, because we're dealing with that on a bare metal, whether that's GPU for AI, whether that's GPU compute for bare metal needs across the board, because different customers are talking about, well, now I can actually consolidate, my CPU compute needs into, a singular GPU compute performance can match 5 CPU compute needs. So it really is going to be interesting when you talked about 5 to 10 kilowatts per rack turning into 40, 50, 60 kilowatts per rack. Well, now that power consumption model is very, very different. And so how do you change the data center demand in terms of power? That really, really changes the dynamic within our industry. How do you then cool that? How do you deal with the power for that? When power is already, a challenge within our industry. I mean, you look at Northern Virginia, Dominion Energy said, I can't meet the power demand until 2026. And you already got a number of data center players that are saying, I'm still building a number of data centers within that space, right? And so I think that's going to be the challenge, and what we're all talking about is how do we continue to meet the demand that is out there for all of this power, for all this technology, because it's not stopping. It is continuing to be more and more and more. And so I think that's the challenge we're all trying to wrap our head around. How do we meet the power? How do we meet the cooling? How do we meet all of the changing demands of this industry, because it continues to grow and grow. And so there's a lot that we're going to have to figure out here over the next 5 years to really meet the demand for the future.
And it seems like there's no one fix for one specific company. But in general, do you think that there is a way that we're becoming challenged as an industry?
I think there is. I think we will figure it out at the end of the day. I think, we always seem to find a way as a human race at the end of the day. We always seem to find a solution. There's renewable energy, there's different ways. There's talk about, utilizing nuclear energy in a contained way. I think that one scares me a little bit at the end of the day. I don't know that I like the idea of these contained nuclear energy components to run a data center at the end of the day, but I think we just have to be smarter about how we really pull together what is the demand and how do we manage it in a way that is sustainable overall for the industry. And I think we just got to be smarter about how we pull that technology together, and I think we will figure it out. There's much smarter minds out there than mine, and I believe we'll figure out a way.
I'm bringing it back to Colohouse. What is the growth trajectory for the next 60 years?
Yeah, I mean, the growth trajectory for us is great. I think, we're really close, on a big deal that's going on for us right now that double the size of our organization. So by the end of the year, we're excited to think about being double the size we are right now, which is super exciting, to finish the year at nearly 85 million in revenue as an organization super exciting time for us. And then based on models, by the end of 2025, being over 100 million in revenue. I mean, from closing out 2023 at just short of 40 million in revenue, and by the end of 2025 being over 100 million in revenue. That's exciting growth and exciting time. So happy to be in this seat and see it happen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And for you guys at home, for all the latest Edge news and news, don't forget to check out Edge Industry Review on all platforms.